विष्णु दास, उनको मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहता हूं सर।
Namaste, good morning, and Vanakkam. First of all, I thank Himanshu Kumar Chaturvedi ji for inviting me. I always learn a lot from his scholarly pursuit as a student of history. It's absolutely my pleasure to see you all in this wonderful morning. I think I'll be the only person here in this seminar will be talking or discussing my ideas in English. Extremely sorry for the inconvenience and apologies for if at all there is any, because the university itself is a Hindi international university. I should not be misconstrued as I'm going against the norms and values of the university. Apologies for the organizers. And because I'm not able to speak, even if I speak, you should not laugh at me. I don't want to see any embarrassment. The topic that I chose to discuss is what I have been doing research as part of my ongoing research. Understanding the idea of Vande Mataram through the lens of proscribed Indian literature. So the literature that has been proscribed or banned by the colonial British simply because they were worried. They were not able to believe that this word can create a huge havoc and terrorizing them literally. To quote Subramanya Bharati, Mahakavi Subramanya Bharati, there are only two Indian ghosts that terrorized, gave nightmares to the British. One is Vande Mataram and the second one is Swaraj. So this is what Subramanya Bharati in his edited India weekly newspaper in the 1908 says in Tamil. I salute Professor Jha for organizing such a wonderful exhibition. I thoroughly enjoyed one thing which I was able to notice on the bottom of one of the exhibition you had quoted Subramanya Bharati's in Tamil and his interpretation about Vande Mataram. When you read this proscribed literature, 3 journals, daily newspaper that had carried Vande Mataram by Bipin Chandra Pal and Aurobindo, and Vande Mataram as a weekly edited by Lala Lajpat Rai, and Vande Mataram as a monthly, Madam Bikaji Kama. So this is what I'll be talking about briefly. I'll not take much time because we have distinguished scholars. As a student of history, I always ask critical questions. I'm sure if there are some scholars, I'll be more than happy to interact with you. And please feel free to ask questions also. So as we all know, history is a continuous process of interaction between past and present, and it is an unending dialogue between historians and our facts. And I always feel that every new generation of historians should not be satisfied by answering old questions, but revise questions and ask new questions. This is not simply because for the sake of asking questions, but facts are coming. There are new evidences are coming up. The facts that I got actually available at Prime Minister Museum and Library, and which a couple of years ago they procured from National Archives of India. It's a huge bundle of proscribed literature, both hard copies as well as digital version. So after reading this proscribed literature, I have asked myself a couple of questions. How does Vande Mataram construct the idea of the nation as a mother? And what are the strengths and limits of this metaphor? In what ways does the song blend nationalism with the spirituality, and how does this affect its political meaning? Why did Vande Mataram become a powerful symbol during the Indian freedom struggle rather than remaining only a literary or devotional song? How did Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's historical and cultural context influence the themes and imagery of Vande Mataram? Why has Vande Mataram been both celebrated and contested in independent India? What does this reveal about pluralism and national identity, among other questions? I'll try to discuss some of the aspects. If you put it theoretically, I'll quote three important scholars. K.M. Panikar, his work on nationalism. R.C. Majumdar's work on nationalism. R.K. Mukherjee's work on nationalism, among other scholars, who always try to contextualize the idea of Mother India or motherland or fatherland or the sacred geography, rivers, mountains, and its physical configuration. And they seem to suggest that how India was always influenced by history, culture, spiritualism, and therefore they would say it is not something to do with the 19th century. It is a continuity of the civilizational values. And they also argue that the motherland, the concept of motherland, is very much in the DNA of the people, right from the ancient times. The passionate dedication to the motherland has exalted the country into a deity-like phenomenon to be worshipped. And I was discussing with some of my colleagues also when we organized a talk on Vande Mataram. Immediately after the conference, some few students came and informally asked a question. Sir, आप तो Christian है, नाम तो Christian लग रहा है. How do you sing Vande Mataram? आपको कोई तकलीफ तो नहीं है? I said, bhai, this is what people try to make a distinction of a song which is inclusive, which doesn't have any kind of discrimination against any religious tradition. Then I had to go back to history and the proscribed literature and some of the important interpretations about Gandhi, S.B. Banerjee, and Jawaharlal Nehru, among others. Then they said, wow, ये तो अच्छी बात है sir. आपने अच्छा बोल दिया हमको. Otherwise, they always get trapped in binary. So as scholars, as students of history, we need to educate the young minds that we need to transcend binaries and boundaries of culture, tradition. It is very much inclusive. This is what I would like to discuss. For example, I'm not going to discuss what Bankim Chandra Chatterjee or Sri Aurobindo Ghosh and others discussed, because most of the scholars have discussed it. I don't want to repeat. How in the post-partition of Bengal, for example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, or for that matter, Bipin Chandrapal and Lala Lajpat Rai and Gandhi and others have tried to articulate. For example, if you read some of the writings, particularly Maratha, edited by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he always used this particular phrase to gather public sentiments during the Swadeshi movement. And he perhaps was one of the very important nationalist leaders who tried to rally the cry against British rule. And he strongly believed that it is one of the cultural symbols that could be used to strengthen political resistance against the British. And Vande Mataram, therefore, according to him, unified people emotionally and politically. And another question that often I was grappling with as a student of history was whether Vande Mataram was a national cry of a particular religion. To quote Surendranath Banerjee in his speech on Swadeshism dated 18th November 1906 in Bombay, he indicates Bande Matram was India's national cry, not a battle cry. It was a cry for peace. It was a cry for goodwill. It was a cry for harmony among the different sections of the society. It was not a military appeal to goddess Kali, as it is often been projected, to lead people to victory against the English, but a soft, generous, and fervent patriotic effusion, reminding the people of India to do their duty to their motherland. Unquote. And it had become the cry of Bengal. It had become a cry of Bombay. It was extended to the far east to south and had gone in one grand sweeping march to the far east to north. And it would prove one more bond to unify the Indian people in the service of the motherland. This is what Surendranath Banerjee had to say. And again, I'm quoting another proscribed literature, which is Bande Matram, Weekly, September 13, 1908. There was an editorial, Our Mother. This editorial says, I quote, Vande Mataram is a song of Indian Renaissance, not just a Bengal Renaissance. With one difference. What is that difference? No call to arms, but a hymn to the motherland. It was a Bengali song, but it was equally popular with Punjabis, Marathis, Gujaratis, and finally Madarasis. And it is fascinating question and one that should inspire people's thoughts as to why this simple, unpretentious Bengali song should become such favorite with the entire people of India. It contains no extraordinary spiritual wisdom which the Indian mind longs for. Neither does it embody any great truth of Western science, for which Indians also have contracted a strong liking. What then it is fascination? What is its force? What is its truth? The song depicts the idea of motherland with her well-known beauty and graces. It establishes her claim to India's homage. It connects people to one of their cultural characters, Bharat Mata, or the chief goddess. It points to her as a great source of strength and inspiration. It speaks of India as the goddess of wealth and goddess of learning. And just, I'll take 2-3 minutes. Any discussion on Vande Mataram, it's my understanding, would be incomplete without adequately referencing Gandhi's understanding and interpretation of Vande Mataram. For example, on 2nd December 1905, Gandhi says, and even he applauds the idea of Vande Mataram, popularized in Bengal, at least during the partition of Bengal. And he says it was instrumental in recreating a sense of belonging among people in various parts of India who cut across regions, languages, creeds, castes, and other identities. I find one thing very fascinating in Gandhi's interpretation. He says it is Vande Mataram that ignited the spirit of patriotic nationalism among people. And another interesting aspect is it popularized the idea of Swadeshi, boycott, and national education. He also says the song proved to be a nobler sentiment and more potent than the songs of other nations in the 19th century. In other nations in the entire world, this is the only song that appears to be inclusive. Again, I'm quoting Gandhi. While other national songs were known for what Gandhi called derogatory to others, Vande Mataram was completely free from controversies. My question is, where does the controversy come from? Who originated it? Gandhi was very clear. He clearly specified that it is the only song, national song in the 19th century that was completely free from controversy. And this is a song which has nothing to do with derogatory to any particular community. And finally, the question I always wanted to ask myself, we recently heard the debate on Parliament about Vande Mataram. I was doing a little bit of research on Nehru's idea of Vande Mataram. I find later, after my research, Nehru was not in a position to have a standard definition or interpretation or idea, because what he was saying in 1930s may not be the same in 1940s, and 1940s changes in the 1950s. I would like to emphasize one particular aspect of Jawaharlal Nehru. With that, I'll wind up. A signed editorial by Jawaharlal Nehru in the National Herald. Of course, this is available in the recently digitized Nehru archives. All those who are interested, please read it for yourself. A signed editorial of Jawaharlal Nehru in the National Herald, which was his newspaper, when the paper resumed publication on 30th November 1945. This was, I think, started 1942, if I'm not wrong. 3 years it was stopped for some reasons, and again it was resumed 1945. And leading article which appeared in the National Herald on 15th August 1942. I want all of you to listen this particular argument that the National Herald was making on 15th 1942. I quote. So the article had a title, Vande Mataram. I quote, "The motherland is dear to us, and it is right that we should pay our homage to her. And yet, even these words of hallowed memory enshrined in our country's history are somewhat out of date today. We bow to no one today, for we are soldiers of India, and our battle cells are bits of that dear motherland of ours, and her honor is in our keeping. Today, our cry is of unity, of freedom, of victory. It is a cry which has resounded and reverberated in the valleys and mountains beyond India. And the old walls of the Red Fort in Delhi have echoed it. And today it is spreading far and wide to our remotest villages. It is our salute and greeting, our challenge, and our battle cry. our pledge to be true to our cause, unquote. This is what National Herald had to say. But unfortunately, to the surprise of many, nobody has quoted this in the uh, parliament debate in the recent past couple of months ago. And it is in this context, my conclusion would be yes, we need to re-articulate, re-examine, recraft, and rewrite, not simply because of the political class is giving a call, clarion call to rewrite history, but as a new generation, we should not be satisfied by answering to old questions. We have to revise questions, we have to ask new questions, and we have to revise, revisit, re-articulate, and write history of Vande Mataram in the light of new sources. Thank you once again for organizers. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.